Hello and welcome to everyone, and thank you for joining the Microsoft 365 Community Conference Workshop Preview Series. That's quite a mouthful, and it's powered by our strategic partner, Betechly. This series will run for 3 weeks in total, every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and feature a sneak peek into the workshops being scheduled for the main event down in Orlando in April. Okay, if you're watching live and would like to discover more about these upcoming preview series events, there's a QR code that will pop up there. Thank you, Terry. And go to that QR code and you'll see a full listing of all the speakers, all the workshops that are scheduled for the month of January. In the future, we'll also be having future events that will discuss the topics and the sessions that will be presented in Orlando. We'll have a combination of speakers from Microsoft and the community in discussions and panels. But that's for a later date. Right now, we hope that we can see you in the Microsoft 365 Community Conference in Orlando. And I'd like to let you know about a discount code that is expiring soon. It is called N300. The discount code is N300, and it will save you $300 off of registration. And this code expires, though, next Monday, January 19th. So register today. Okay, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our presenter, Asif Rahmani, CEO of Visual SP.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that, Lyman. Thanks for having me. Folks, appreciate you coming today if you're already here in live in person. If not, later you're watching this. What I'm going to do is start sharing my screen, show you a bunch of stuff that we're going to be doing in this particular workshop at Microsoft 365 conference, and we'll go from there. First of all, as Lyman mentioned, my name is Asif Rahmani. I'm the CEO of Visual SP and also a Microsoft MVP. This is my 20th year as a Microsoft MVP. Been in the community for a long time and love interacting with folks like you. So if you like what you see, if you want to interact with me more, I'll put in my LinkedIn later as well, so you can connect with me before the conference. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. I'm looking over there because I got a different monitor here as well. So share screen, entire screen. You should be able to see it coming in just a minute here. All right, I see it now. Here's the workshop that I am talking about today. It's called Microsoft 365 Copilot for Work, how to get real ROI with better prompts and workflows. So my intention right now for the next 20 some minutes is to take you through a journey of what this workshop is going to be all about. You have a choice, obviously, which workshop to attend, which sessions to go to, and I want to make it the best experience possible for you. So I'll try to, as much as possible, give you a preview of what's to come. And if you like what you see, please do come to my workshop, all right? Before I jump into this stuff, I also have a coupon code for you, a discount code. It's called Rahmani, this is my last name, 150. And with that, you can get $150 off the conference fees. Okay, so if you attend, use the code, get $150 off. All right, back to the workshop. So the workshop is Friday, April 24th, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Okay, Friday 24th, April 24th, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And it's going to be super, super hands-on, like it says over here. You know, honestly, I don't know about you, but when I go to a workshop, I don't want to come out of the workshop thinking there's a lot of good information that went in my head or through my head, and now I may or may not remember, or I don't have action items. This is going to be truly a workshop where hopefully you bring your laptop, you bring a power quote because you'll need it all day, and we're going to get into actually doing things. So when you leave from this workshop at 3 p.m., you will have prompts that you can use right away. You'll have ideas, you'll have lots of notes. You'll hopefully have made friends as well, because we'll be working in groups together in a way where you'll find out what other companies are doing with Copilot in their job and the successes as well as failures. We're going to be pretty vulnerable. We're going to talk about all things that's working or not working. Okay, and I'll be sharing a lot of that as well. We at Visual SP use Microsoft Copilot all the time. I use other AI tools as well, and I'll be showing and talking about a lot of those examples. Yeah. So what I'm going to do, quickly go over the agenda here, and then I'll show you scenarios of the kind of things you'll be expected to see over there. And I'll show you some actual curriculum, some PowerPoint that you'll be seeing over there, and then we'll go from there. So here we go. Copilot, if you have a license for it, already appears in Word, Excel, Microsoft 365 Chat, Outlook, PowerPoint, Teams, SharePoint, and even more, Forms and Power Apps and everything else, right? But it just showing up there is one thing. You utilizing value is another thing. So it's like I like to say that licenses themselves do not create ROI. Usage does, right? Getting a license for Copilot is just the start. What is the actual usage? What is the return on investment that you're getting, that your company is getting? Super important. And that's what I want to go dig into in this particular course over here. So you can utilize all different facets of it. How to write great, strong prompts in your Copilot. So it's not just random stuff, but what is the tone that I want? What is the context that I'm giving? What is the output that I'm looking for? What is it that I want Copilot to do at the end of the day? The more specific the prompt, the better the output, as you know. What are the common mistakes that I've made, that maybe you made, that you wanted to share also? We'll learn from each other. Okay, there's a lot of good stuff in there as well. 5 core skills that you should master. We'll talk more about that later. Workflows for your job. So Copilot is, used everywhere in every industry, but your industry is going to be different, and my industry is going to be different than somebody else sitting in that room. But you'll see those similarities across the different horizontal layers of how we're using it in similar ways, and how you're using it differently, depending on if you're manufacturing, finance, you're in legal, or you're in health, or whatever it is. So we're going to build workflows around all these different areas, so you can actually take Copilot and use it for your workflow, for your specific one. And then last but not least over here, obviously we're going to talk about governance. We're going to talk about user adoption, not just for yourself, but of course, your employees, your coworkers. I've been around in the community for a long time, and user adoption, I got to say, is the most important thing, as I'm sure you'll agree. Just getting the tool out there is just the start. After that, getting people to actually use it, utilize value from it, they themselves feeling fulfilled, and then your company also getting the ROI from it. All that stuff is extremely important. So we'll talk about all these things here. Without further ado, what I'm going to do now is jump into a few scenarios, and then after the scenarios, then I'll show you the actual curriculum that you'll be seeing over there. So here's a few scenarios. Excel. Let's talk about that first over here. Microsoft Excel, used by everybody. I have a data set over here of just lots of numbers, in this case, some sales numbers from a region, from different regions, different products, channels, and so forth. And sometimes it just makes your head hurt. You're looking at all this stuff like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Now, before, if you're not a data analyst, or if you're not super into Excel, when you want to make a pivot table, or you want to make a chart, or you want to make a graph, or you want to change some colors, you want to apply conditional formatting, you kind of messed around and you figured it out, right? Or you asked your colleague, hey, Sarah, can you show me how to do this thing? All that stuff is still valid, but now you have a Copilot that's always there for you. So if you have Copilot, it's going to appear right here. Here's Copilot right on the top right. Now, the little bit confusing thing here is that there's 2 Copilot things over here. One is the chat, one is the app skills. So that's the first time we'll dig all deep into all that stuff in the workshop. But in here, chat is like a regular chat, as you can assume, or you're chatting about your data. But app skills goes further. You can take action on your data. You can have it commit changes. You can have it make the graphs and pivot tables and so forth, and highlight things. In fact, I got a prompt that's already here. It says, highlight rows that have a margin percent between 20 and 25. What does that mean? Here's the margin percent, right? So it's saying that look for the ones between 20 and 25. So it would be this one, I think that's it for this one. Yeah, and then there's more others, but highlight all of them. So it told me, all right, I'm looking at all these different rows, and I found them. I'm ready to apply it. But remember, the word Copilot is there for a reason, right? It's not a pilot, it's a Copilot. So it's helping you. So it's asking you before committing the data. So I'm going to click on apply here. That's when it goes, here we go, and highlighted those 2 rows. Pretty cool, right? Now, you might have already done that. You're like, so that's easy. That's great. But what is the reasoning for doing it? Why would you do it? What is the analogy that you use to explain to your users of why they would do it? All that is very important. We're going to be talking about the whole thing, not just the cool features, which keep on changing and enhancing, but the why and the what, the how, and the user adoption for all this stuff. Okay, so that was one scenario. Let's keep going here. Back in the web browser, I'm going to go into Microsoft 365 chat. Now here, what I did with a particular prompt is I had a really good prompt that is there to help me take a candidate's resume, which is right here is a resume that I uploaded, and take a job description and put it together to make some very specific questions that I can ask, in this case, Maria, for that job. And I really, really like this prompt. I want to do this thing maybe next month, next year, if I'm a recruiter or something like that. And I'm thinking, do I just copy this thing and paste it in Word or PowerPoint or OneNote or something? Isn't there an easier way? And there is an easier way. You hover over it and you click on save this prompt. You can save this prompt and it goes somewhere. Where does it go? We'll talk about that in a second. So I'm going to say, yeah, that's fine. Let's go ahead and save it. Okay. View in Copilot prompt gallery. Great. But let's say this came up and you didn't pay attention or you clicked on the X. You're like, okay, well, where is the prompt gallery? How do I get back to it? This is one of those things where when I talk about that with people, I get a chuckle because everybody's like, yeah, I've been using Copilot for a long time. And when I ask about the prompt gallery, most people are like, I don't know where that is. Not your fault. It's unfortunate, but this is where the user adoption pieces come in that we'll talk about, right? So look carefully here. I'm showing you my screen, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom into bottom right. And here is the very, very intuitive sarcasm, just kidding. But this is the icon to get to the prompt gallery. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about what the prompt gallery is. Why is it over there? How do you get users to actually use the prompt gallery? What's in it for them? How do you get them to make this a habit so they can find it? And when they get to the prompt gallery, here's the different prompts by Microsoft. Here's the prompts that you have saved, which is this one. I just saved it right now. I have other prompts too. And then there's also team prompts. And you can take your prompts, you can share the prompt with your team. A lot of good stuff, right? So again, the why, the what, the how, the user adoption, the governance around all this stuff. What if you don't want people to use this? What if there's another feature that you want people to use? How do you get them using and doing the right things? All right. Hopefully you're having fun watching these scenarios. I got a bunch more, then I'll show you the curriculum as well. So here's another scenario in the new Outlook. This is the new Outlook over here, not the classic one. There's Copilot here, but Copilot has 3 different things over here. It's kind of weird. It was flashing. You got coaching, you got draft, and you got settings. Someone was just asking me yesterday that I don't see settings in mine. How come you see it in yours? That kind of question is going to come up to you. 100%. These kind of questions will come up. Settings is only available if you have the new Outlook. It's not available in the classic Outlook. Anyway, I don't know why. I guess there's some limitations technically that Microsoft has. Because of that, it is not available in the classic Outlook. But this is very important. Why is it important? Let me click on settings and show you what happens. And I'm sure this has happened to you, that many times we want, sorry, it's kind of weird jumping around here a little bit. Here we go. Many times what happens is I want my emails to be in my voice. I don't want it to be in a way that I have to change every single same thing again and again. I'll give you an example. When I used to make emails using Outlook, it would almost always start with "Dear Tom" or "Dear Michelle." I'm like, I never used the word "dear," never. Okay, I mean never, ever. Not even the regular written letters that I used to write. But just not me. And then the first statement is always, "I hope you're doing well," or something like that. Which I'm like, I wouldn't start like that, right? and then the end salutation was different, and the tone was different. So what you want is you want to have custom instructions that you give to Copilot that say, listen, use my voice. Here's how I talk. So this is my actual custom instructions. I say, tone and voice, use a friendly conversational tone that feels approachable and professional. Avoid overly formal or robotic language. Greeting style, hi, somebody. That's how I talk. And avoid things like dear sir or madam. I would never use that. Keep emails concise. I am a fairly concise type of guy, usually for people who know me. I'm pretty direct. And use short paragraphs, bullets. Talk about at the end. Use thanks or best regards. That's how I talk, right? So we'll talk about this. We'll talk about, in your team, 100% there are people, 100% who have gone through the whole Outlook drafting and they're like, this is good, but this is not how I talk. Those people, if you want adoption from them, show them this thing, show them exactly how to use it, and you will get the adoption. All right. All right. Watching the time, I'm going to move forward. A lot more to cover here. All right. So next, actually, I'm just going to show a few modules. As you can see the preview right now. I showed you a few scenarios. I'm going to show you a few specific modules that are going to be in the class if you come to our the workshop. And once again, all of these things that we'll be doing, we're going to be doing it hands-on. So I'll be doing it, you'll be doing it, your colleagues over there will be doing it, we'll be doing it together. So building muscle memory and actually putting the hands to the laptop and making stuff happen, it just sinks in much better, right? With that kind of learning, as you know. So I'll show you a few here. One, let's see, here we go. Microsoft Copilot in your flow of work. Once again, by the way, Copilot in PowerPoint we'll be discussing as well, obviously, but this we're talking about the actual content. In Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, Power Platform, SharePoint, and more, where does it come up? It is a different experience. Sometimes you're like, okay, well, it's here, or it's there, or it's in the middle. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. Where does it come up in your flow of work? And how do we best use it per application? In each of these slides, there's going to be lots and lots of notes that I have that you see over here, and we're going to be digging in pretty deep in all that stuff. So there's a lot of content everywhere. Yeah, well, Copilot is not. Another good topic. Let me show you another one. Prompt patterns that work. This is what I was talking about before, where if I just ask Copilot in Word, for example, make me a course about cybersecurity, it's going to do it, but it won't do it with the exact way that I want because I've not told it. If I say, make a cybersecurity course, make sure it's split up in 10 slides that I can then take into PowerPoint and use PowerPoint to make the slide deck, right? Or whatever. Then it's going to make the outputs very specific to what I'm looking for and for the place that I'm looking to input it. So it will understand what output is going to be needed for PowerPoint. And it's going to make that output. I take that file, I go into PowerPoint, I say file, create with Copilot. This is where I can reference the file and it's going to make the actual PowerPoint. And that's actually one of my scenarios that I'll be talking about. So super specific. Here's a different, for example, the 5-part framework for great prompts that we'll be talking about. You have to talk about the task, specific task you're giving it. What is the context? What is the constraints you want to give it? That's also important. So I said 10 slide decks or 10 slides, I think, right? If I don't, it might make 100. I don't need 100. I just need 10. What tone do I want? What output do I want? So we'll talk about all that good stuff in this particular module. Let's keep moving. Common mistakes. Oh, I've made so many mistakes and I'm going to talk about them. How to repair bad prompts, the cost of weak prompts. What does a weak prompt look like? And I'll definitely show you some stuff that I've done in the past where I've failed and how I succeeded afterwards. The 5-part framework, which will build on from that last module and a whole lot more. Okay. All right. A couple more over here I'll show. Governance. Oh, as you know, super important. How do I govern things properly so my employees are using Copilot with the method that I want them to use it with and not just whatever. and maybe even beyond Copilot. So I can bet those of you who are watching right now, you yourself and others that you know use more than Copilot, don't you? I'm sure you use Copilot, but I'm sure you use ChatGPT or Claude or Grok or Perplexity or something else, or maybe other tools. There's so many amazing AI tools out there. Where does the governance for all that stuff comes in when a employee got his or her laptop and they're using different AI things in there? How do you govern various things? How do you maybe show them some kind of banner or something that, hey, this is allowed, this is not allowed? We're going to talk about those very contextual things, and we'll talk about very specific things over here as to what should I hide, what should I show, what's the best way to roll out things in a very periodical, intentional manner instead of opening everything at once. What works, what doesn't work. So common risks to watch out for. AI hallucinations. I have a whole PowerPoint about hallucinations as well. That's right. Here we go. Preventing hallucinations in Microsoft Copilot. That's also part of the governance, right? You need people to know that AI is still learning. It's getting better. What triggers hallucination? How do you have less hallucinations? Now, no, I won't lie over here. So you can't eliminate it completely, but you definitely can mitigate it. You definitely can lessen it quite a bit, actually. And we'll talk about all that stuff in here. All right. Finally, one more thing in here that I want to talk about is Copilot adoption. So I said this in the beginning. Licenses don't create ROI, user adoption does, right? Microsoft Copilot is here, great, but what do you do with it? How do you get your employees to use it? There's going to be people who are going to be promoters, there'll be people who are detractors, and there are people in the middle. How do you get everyone, or almost everyone, hopefully, excited about how does it help them? What's in it for them? So they're not confused. We're going to talk about all that stuff here. With this thing, we're going to talk about a Copilot confidence curve of how they go from confusion to transformation, what comes in the middle. We'll talk about the activation framework. We'll talk about a lot of good stuff over here. Here we go, the 90-day playbook of how the adoption cycle should work. A lot of good stuff to cover here. All right. I realize I'm running out of time here, so I'm going to go back to this over here. One more thing to keep in mind, the course that I'm running, that day is actually a mini version of a course that we run from Visual SP as well. And if you do want, there's a lot more information on the copilottrainingpackage.com. So you can see the whole thing, and all the modules I'll be running are here. So if you go to copilottrainingpackage.com, you'll see all the modules and more, all the information here, in addition to, of course, in the Microsoft 365 conference workshop page. Okay, so check that out. And if you would like to connect with me, which I definitely welcome before the actual day when we come into the workshop, this is me, Asif Rahmani. I won't make you memorize everything, but here, just if you can look at my name and type that in, Asif Rahmani, and look at this picture, because there are other Asif Rahmanis out there. And go ahead and connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active. Would love to talk with you over there and go from there. So with that, I will hand it back over to you, Lyman.
Hey there, Asif. Thank you so much for your time today and your expertise. And thanks you for being a part of the event, the main event in Orlando. Today's webinar was recorded and it'll be posted shortly, coming up to Asif's workshop website on the conference site. Just a reminder, a couple closing points. Just to let you know, the N300 discount code expires on Monday. And so if you want to get that extra $300 off, you'll need to use it by January 19th. Okay, thanks for joining us. Coming up later today at 1 o'clock Mountain Time, we've got Susan Hanley and a sneak peek of her AI Loves IA workshop. And at 3 p.m. Mountain Time, we've got, closing our day, Sherry Oswald with a preview of her workshop, Kickstart a Culture Shift by Making Microsoft 365 Click for Everyone. Thanks again, and hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Hope to see you in Orlando.